Thanks for watching this portion of Garage Logic today on our YouTube channel, and hit the subscribe button if you wouldn't mind. And also thanks to our friends at Everest Men's Health for sponsoring this. Go to everestmenshealth.com today to see if they can help you with better energy and better health. And catch the Garage Logic podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Mayor Joe Soucheray.
We had the inauguration last night of the mayor of St. Paul, Melvin Carter.
Oh.
And the Pioneer Press version of the story does not really give us an indication of how well attended the ceremony might have been.
Interesting.
The Star Tribune version of the story, both papers featured this on the front page, said that he was that this took place before dozens of supporters.
How many?
Dozens.
Dozens of supporters.
That's not very many, and I don't think that would have bothered Melvin.
Does that include staff members, or is that
I think it was probably a lot of his staff and a lot of the usual suspects like Betty McCollum. And
Would COVID have played a role in that?
I would imagine so.
Come on, we're trying to help him out.
Surrounded by dozens of bundled up, socially distanced supporters, a masked Carter took his oath of office on stage with his family before an inaugural address that included one of the mayor's mantras in recent months: today's challenges cannot be conquered with yesterday's tools.
What does that mean?
Can anyone decipher that for me?
I can't.
Repeat that sentence.
With my best decoder ring, I couldn't do it.
Today's challenges cannot be conquered with yesterday's tools.
Oh, so what we need to do, it's change.
Well, it's like his reimagining of policing, for example.
Sure, that worked well, didn't it?
Which can't be reimagined. The task before us is nothing short of inventing and carrying forward a model of city building that reflects these realities, from existential tasks like securing safer neighborhoods and revitalizing our economy to the simple ceremonial ritual of installing a mayor, Carter said. The compound crisis punctuated by this pandemic demand the risk and discomfort of uncharted trails.
You decipher that one for me. Yeah.
Okay, and then in the Pioneer Press version of the story, you get this quote. The mayor in his inauguration speech said the COVID-19 public health crisis and the 2020 riots following the death of George Floyd underscored the need to adopt progressive new approaches to government service. I disagree. Carter highlighted his efforts to open college savings accounts for 6,000 St. Paul newborns to date and launch a $500 monthly guaranteed income pilot project for 150 families and forgive library fines for all residents with overdue books. And here's a quote that really had me thinking along the Garage Logic service road of life. Okay. The promise of government for the people can only be realized in a city where the voices of the vulnerable ring every bit as powerfully as the petitions of the privileged. Okay. That's a noble statement.
Yes.
That's a noble sentiment, but let's break it down. The promise of government for the people can only be realized in a city where the voices of the vulnerable ring every bit as powerfully as the petitions of the privileged. I don't know what is meant by the petitions of the privileged.
You know exactly what he means.
No, I don't know what that means.
That means that just because you, I don't know, have a family or have a career, make money for your family,
right?
Well, that doesn't mean that your voice counts any more or less than the guy that doesn't have that.
But time out. He hasn't been listening to those people, the business leaders.
He's been a pretty distant mayor.
Yes, he hasn't, to the point where there's a letter sent saying, we need help. We have staff that needs to go cook the lunches in the lunchroom for the people that are on the 15th floor. Mm-hmm. And they're coming to school to work on all sorts of public He's not listening to the privileged.
Well, this is what...
he's not listening to anybody.
This is the light bulb that went off in my meager brain when I read that quote. And I think it's true of the mayors. The closer you get to the 12 cities in America where their murder rates are the highest and have set records, including St. Paul, the closer you get to the country's tallest buildings, the cities are in tremendous decline and tremendous danger. What I think, there's a fatal flaw in Melvin's statement, however noble it sounds. Okay. He gives as much credit and reverence to the people who don't achieve and don't have a card in the game to the people who do.
Is that his quote where he says, we need to listen to the underprivileged as much as the people that have nothing to do?
Yeah, the voices of the vulnerable ring every bit as powerfully as the petitions of the privileged. The problem with that is the vulnerable are not contributing to the civic and financial health of the city. They're not contributing.
It's a big distinction. It's a big difference.
And so what you're doing, however, I think intentionally, is you're admonishing the privileged. They have had the audacity to succeed. They have had the audacity to work and hold jobs and raise families and keep their neighborhoods intact. And here we have in our midst people who don't do that, and they need to be heard as much as you people. Okay, that's fine, but what are they contributing? I suppose I would be considered a tremendous racist for pointing this out.
Well, race has nothing to do with it.
Of course it doesn't. Of course it doesn't. And so he comes up with, $15 minimum wage and ongoing efforts at reimagining public safety and a burgeoning, and he's got a real rent control problem on his hands because he screwed it up.
Right.
Oh, by the way, $15 an hour jobs that people don't want.
Right, and you could get a job for $30 an hour if you want to work.
Easily, if you wanted to work. People are so desperate for employees right now because no one in this country wants to work anymore.
The progressives like Carter believe that the people who don't put in an effort are just as credible as the people who do.
Yes.
And I just can't see that just can't become my worldview. I can't attribute to the people who don't work and don't achieve. I can't attribute to them the same credibility that I would attribute to the people who do work and achieve. And I think Carter's very dismissive of virtually most of the neighborhoods in St. Paul. He seems intently devoted to a constituency that got him elected and has no interest in participating in the commercial health of the city.
Right. Now, I just looked up Ecolab Foundation. Ecolab's a major player downtown St. Paul.
Maybe one of the few left.
Right. 2020 impact, $23 million given to local communities. $5 million of this total was granted to organizations that provided COVID relief, supported basic jobs. So a lot of these, a Securian I haven't found yet, but those companies have slush funds to help the needy, and they're doing it. These are successful businesses that are community-minded, and they're giving the money away. Now, Mayor Carter wants to do all these programs with raising taxes. Well, you can't do that.
Well, let's bring in the word that is being thrown about every day. The closer you get to the country's tallest buildings, we must achieve equity. And the way Carter would do it is wholly artificial, capricious, and arbitrary. He would create equity by taking from the people who do provide and giving it to the people who don't. That's Marxism. That's all it is. From each, what's the saying? From
each candidate will regret.
From those who have to those who don't, or whatever the hell the Marxist thing was. But it's not going to work. It's not going to work. You will not have a flowering city. There was no need to come in here and reinvent the city. That's what he thinks he's doing. He's not reinventing anything as the city declines rapidly before his very eyes. There was a hell of a piece in the Star Tribune editorial page today written by a guy named Andy Brem, who is a corporate lawyer. And the headline is, Minnesota in decline needs a turnaround. And then the text of his piece might as well be an episode of Garage Logic. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's a well-written piece. And he's right on the money, but it's just an episode of our show. It's what we've been talking about for 3 years.
From each according to his ability to each according to his needs.
Well, isn't that what he's saying?
He is.
In essence, isn't that what he's saying when he says the promise of government for the people can only be realized in a city where the voices of the vulnerable, the needy, ring every bit as powerfully as the petitions of the privileged, those who can provide the need? Well,
it's proven not to work.
It doesn't work.
I mean, look where we are right now without Marxism, socialism, all that. People don't want to work in this capitalistic society.
No.
By the way, I was looking this up while you were reading that piece, Joe. You lamented the fact that only 36,426 people voted for Melvin. He got 61% of the voter turnout. Do you realize that in 2017 he had 31,000 votes? Did you know that?
I did. I could
Compared
have
to
looked
what?
it up.
He had 36 this past election. In 17, he had 31,000. And in 2013, Chris Coleman got 78% of the vote
Yeah.
with 23,000 votes.
The apathy is
That's your problem in St. Paul.
is overwhelming.
The apathy is your issue right now. It's your issue, not mine, bro.
Right. See you.
Okay. Well,
In 2009, Chris Coleman had 7,791 votes, 67%.
well then who in the hell is voting? Nobody.
You.
I did.
Twice. Well, apparently they're not voting twice. There's no numbers.
The voting was pathetic. And I don't know what to do about it. What must be done, of course, is completely new leadership that gets us back to what works. Melvin
works?
is
What works?
one of the reasons Melvin is destroying the city, and same with Fry and who's the mayor in Chicago,
Lori
Lightfoot, and Seattle, Portland. One of the reasons they're so destructive is that they keep creating problems that will not go away. I'm sorry, programs that will not go away. It will continue to need to be funded and funded and funded until you bleed out the privileged who have provided this funding. And
Then what do you have?
Remember what the mayor of San Francisco said when she had an awakening? What's
Yes.
her Breedlove?
Dang it, I have it right here.
Is it Breedlove?
No, her last name
Laurel
is
Breed.
San.
I'll get it for me. Get it for me.
Mayor.
And I'll paraphrase what she
London
said.
Breed.
London Breed.
Yes.
What she and she's a progressive, and she had somebody got to her, shook her by the lapels, and said, "Get your act together." She came out and said, "We owe it to the taxpayers who have generously provided this money. No, it's been taken from them."
Correct.
Breed. But at least she was saying, we have to strengthen policing. We've got to get rid of the crime. We've got to get back to basics. And she acknowledged the people who are paying the freight.
So this morning, I'm glad you brought this up. I was reading a piece. Yeah, I know you find that shocking. That's fine. The top states that people moved away from in 2021. So what they did was the amount of people that moved to subtracted from the amount of people that left, right?
Right.
71% outbound percentage for New Jersey, 67% for Illinois,
Yep.
63% for New York, 60% for California.
Yeah.
If that doesn't tell you something, I don't know what will.
And outbound here was more than inbound in Minnesota.
I believe it was. I don't have that.
But that talk is meaningless to me.
Why?
Well, for example, I'm in no position to just leave. I guess
No,
I
but doesn't
could,
it go
but-
to show you that people are fed up to a certain degree with that type of leadership?
Yeah, but the people who are leaving apparently not only have the means to leave, but can
have the
leave.
permission.
Yeah.
Right. That's which is sometimes the toughest thing to get, even if you have the means.